Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. My fellow Gambians, fellow citizens of the Gambia and non-citizens of the Gambia in the Gambia, friends of the Gambia, Gambians both at home and abroad, I greet you. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Well, this has been the long-awaited announcement that all of you were expecting over the years. Thank you very much for your patience, and I want to make it crystal clear that I've always longed to come back to my homeland, my motherland, the Gambia. First of all, you all know the events that led to me leaving the country, leaving the Gambia to come here. It was a result of a dispute over the election results that most of you call the impasse. What brought it about was the fact that they had announced the first results that I accepted only for the IEC, the same IEC that conducted the elections, to come with a new set of results, of course, where they admitted that they made mistakes. That being the case, we decided that the whole issue has to be settled in the Supreme Court. We are not going to accept the results. This is what brought about the problem. Okay. What happened was, when the first set of results were announced, most of my officials rejected the results. But to avoid any problems in the country, okay, the country was so much polarized. I discussed with them and we agreed that, okay, I can accept the results as they are. Despite various discussions with the IEC chairman, then Aliu Momar Njai, we made it very clear that we are going to challenge the results. It was very clear to him. Then 3 days later, I think 3 days later or whatever, they came with a new set of results. All this information was passed to the ECOWAS, EU, and the UN. That we are not going to accept the results, for which ECOWAS, despite a team of heads of state, the then chairwoman, or chairperson they call her, Her Excellency President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf of Liberia, His Excellency the late President of Nigeria, General Buhari, and the president, now the current president of Ghana, who at that time was also facing elections. He lost, he went out, now he has been re-elected. To cut a long story short, they came, and I made it very clear to them. They asked me, it was Buhari himself. I don't want to talk about somebody that has passed away. I will not accuse him of anything, because that will be a grave sin. He asked me, and I know the president of Ghana is there, back to power. He was there, and the president of former president of Sierra Leone, Ernest Bai Koroma, they are alive. President Buhari asked me, "What are you going to do now?" I told him, "All what I need is we have a petition that we want to take to the Supreme Court of the Gambia because any election dispute in this country must be settled through constitutional means. Nullifying the election, the result does not mean that there wouldn't be elections. We want fresh elections. He asked me, what is the time frame? I told him, according to the constitution, that's what we want to do. I think it was within 6 months. Okay? He told me, in the presence of Elijah Salif is alive as well, but don't do anything illegal. I tell you, I will never do anything illegal. I accepted the results only for these people to come with new results, claiming that they were wrong. The first results, they made a mistake. How is that possible? Then later on, I learned that the servers for the elections were based in Dakar. I asked why Dakar? And we couldn't get any clear-cut answer from the IEC. I objected to the president, the positioning of the servers in Dakar, because Dakar is not part of the Gambia. Why would they put the servers there? We don't know. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I explained everything to them. Okay? And His Excellency, the late President Buhari said, okay, that he was made to understand that the judges that were in the Gambia, who are part of this, who from the core majority in the Supreme Court of the Gambia, are in recess. But then somebody said, no, but they can be called because there was a judge from Ghana and a judge from Sierra Leone. And then, and as Bai Koroma said, well, we want to resolve the problem peacefully, then it has to be. I'm ready to send my judge, I think she was a female, and Ghana also promised to send a judge. So you have 2 judges, one from Ghana, one from Sierra Leone, and both Sierra Leone and Ghanaian heads of state said they are going to send the judges if Buhari, who has the majority, is ready to send his judges. Buhari looked at me and he said, okay, I will look at it. I told him, no, there's a provision that says that in case of an emergency, judges in recess can be called to take care of the problem, after which they go back and the days that they spend resolving the problem will be added to the recess. He said, well, he will go back to Nigeria. Okay. He went back to Nigeria only for us to hear so many stories that from the coalition using the who as a mouthpiece, saying that they've already blocked everything. The Nigerian judges are not coming. We all heard that. And unfortunately it became true. The next thing we heard was a meeting in Mali. Africa France Summit, where the former president of France, then he was the president, Adama Barrow was invited there. I was not invited. He held his hand and said, this is going to be the president of the Gambia, whether anybody likes it or not. So he is the president of the Gambia and you should accept him as president of the Gambia. Okay. Well, he's not a member of, France is not a member of the ECOWAS. France is not a member of the AU. France is not a member of Africa. So for somebody to come and declare in the presence of African heads of state that this is the president, whether anybody likes it or not, the president of the Gambia. Anyway, To cut a long story short, that is. The next thing I heard was the AU calling a meeting, an emergency meeting to which I was not invited to go and defend myself. My delegation, I sent a delegation, they were not allowed to enter. So also ECOWAS held an emergency meeting in Abuja to which my representatives, there was a dispute as to whether they were allowed to enter, but they were not allowed to speak. But they were blocked 3 days in Dakar because at that time we had to fly through good. All flights we had based in Dakar and they had to go to Dakar. They spent 3 days in Dakar. Whatever happened, I don't want to speculate. Only for me to later know that the AU has taken the matter to the UN Security Council. That's a long story. That's a story of its own. And then other declarations were being made. Then ECOWAS, all of a sudden, the then ECOWAS secretary or president or whatever, we used to call the ECOWAS secretary general, made an announcement giving me an ultimatum that I have to leave. But before that, the heads of state came again, okay? And then and the heads of state from ECOWAS came again. But anyway, that's another story. Then the president of Mauritania, the former president of Mauritania, Abdul Aziz, President Aziz came on his own because he's not a member of ECOWAS. He came, we had a meeting. Then later on, he went back. Then former President Alpha Conde called me and said he wanted to come and see me. It was urgent. He was sent.